Welcome, everybody. This is Brandon Busteed, your host of Bold Leaders in Learning, and I'm delighted today to have Troy Prince with me, the founder of Wall Street Bound, an organization that has been helping young adults from underserved communities and specifically Black and Brown communities find better trajectories into Wall Street and finance jobs. Troy, I want to start because you've had your own successful career on Wall Street and in finance. You've also, I think if I've got this right, you've lived in 5 different countries, speak 4 different languages. You've seen a lot and done a lot in this field, and also had a really interesting educational trajectory yourself in terms of opportunities at the high school level, growing up in the Bronx, and would love to just have you tell us a little bit more about your own background and trajectory, and then tell us more about Wall Street Bound beyond the basics that I've provided.
Thank you. Yes, so I'm the son of first and second generation Caribbean immigrants. Grew up right on the border of the South Bronx, near Yankee Stadium. But, it's part of Caribbean culture, as many cultures, that education is the way. And I was very fortunate. My mother was a teacher. And so at home, the neighborhood, the elements aside, it was never a question of, you know, where I was going to go to school, or it was just what you're going to major in, what college you're going to.
Yeah.
And so having that backdrop at home, I was fortunate enough to attend a specialized high school here in New York City, Bronx High School of Science, where you have to take an exam to get in, one of the best public high schools in America. And so, as you might imagine, I was exposed to things that I might not have been had I gone to my local high school, which for my family was just a non-option. And so sophomore year of high school, let's see, I was 14, graduated at 16. Yeah. Social studies class, there was a contest. You pick a stock, you got 5 extra points on your final grade. I'm pretty sure the stock I remember, it was Johnson & Johnson, Johnny Johnny, as we used to call it. And I didn't know anything. I'd love it to be some sexy story. By 14, I was doing deep fundamental analysis, but no, totally random. Lo and behold, 5 extra points. And during the course of that year, I also remember, having a friend or meeting a kid who was who was trading my age. And I'm like, what's going on here? And so stock market, this is around the same time that a book by Jack Schwager came out, The Market Wizards. That book changed my life. And by 16, I was cold calling at Shearson. By 17, I was commuting to NYU Stern undergrad.
Wow.
And by 18, I was in Salomon Brothers operations, the Goldman Sachs of its day. By 20, I was in Tokyo on a trading desk. And so I was very fortunate to be exposed, to have the right sort of elements around me. And once I knew what I wanted to do, I was just on a straight path there.
It's pretty incredible. I mean, you talk about a couple really important things there, right? A really relatively simple exercise that you were given in school, right? Kind of pick a stock, whatever, and then, there's always several other prompts, right? It's, a book that potentially change your thinking about it. What kind of social network support or mentoring was part of that for you, or was that less of it for your experience? Because I know as we talk more about Wall Street Bound, there's a lot of really important elements that bring it to life beyond kind of the specific technical training. But I'm just curious, what were were there other kind of key catalysts from kind of a mentoring perspective that you had along the way as well?
Well, that's just the thing. There were not. We don't grow up with, I didn't grow up with MDs next door, or uncles that played golf with portfolio managers. Like, that just wasn't the thing. They just weren't. I would say in my entire career, there was one mentor figure, probably someone who saved my job at Salomon once I moved back to New York from Tokyo, and we're friends to this day. But along that path to get me there, there was not. And that was probably, before I even knew it, the seed of the ideation of Wall Street Bound. Because, again, a lot of the story is my personal journey, but it need not be from the standpoint of, smart kids in my neighborhood, that I wasn't allowed to play with
Right.
in my congregation, on the tennis courts, basketball courts, but they present a different way. And so, to the question, to the point you bring up, it's always just what is going to be that one spark that turns the light on. And so that combination of that spark, whether it was that contest, whether it was the book or the friends, but yeah, no mentors. But I was just very fortunate that I was single-minded. So maybe in a way I lucked out, but Wall Street Bound is part of that story, and we'll get back to that, I guess, little in a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, one of the words you just used was luck, right? And I think there's probably a lot of truth to that, right? As we think about some of the companies and specific industries that for years and decades have struggled to attract and retain diverse talent, the little diverse talent that has gotten to those fields, it's usually a refrain of like luck or, as opposed to some really kind of specific talent development process or social network that was designed to support it. So I know Wall Street Bound is something you've been thinking about for more than a decade. It's something you founded, I guess, a few years ago now. Tell us more about Wall Street Bound.
So yeah, after years on the street, multiple trading desks, trading floors, trading different countries, this idea that they can't be found is just became weird and unacceptable to me. I mean, at first, early on, in my younger days out of school, I felt special, but at some point it's like, something is just off here. And I remember, I think in the early 2000s, maybe you started seeing more on the trading floors, particularly around technology, Southeast Asian. But somehow, when I started in operations in Salomon Brothers, where it was just this melting pot of brown, I used to sneak upstairs. Liar's Poker's days was like a different planet, and somehow it just never seems to make it upstairs. And so it occurred to me, a long time ago. I think I first had the idea for Wall Street Bound 15, 20 years that there needed to be clearly either Wall Street was unable or unwilling to intentionally build these bridges, as you mentioned, this talent development pipeline from where we know the raw talent exists to these opportunities. And so I moved back from abroad just about 3 years ago, and Wall Street Bound was born within, the first curriculum I think was within 5 or 6 months.
And so tell us more about the curriculum, because I know you guys offer a variety of things. You've got kind of boot camp-esque programs. You've got programs that really mix a combination of kind of specific technical financial training, right, aimed at getting important industry recognized credentials, a part of what the Kaplan partnership with Wall Street Bound is supporting for some of these young adults to be able to get their SIE or their CAIA or their CFA as part of the program. But I know a big part of this is kind of what you would consider some of the soft skills and exposure to what it means to work on Wall Street, how you show up. A lot of the things that are
Indeed.
just missing if, to your point, right, you don't have parents out on the golf course, playing golf with hedge fund managers and traders and getting that exposure in other ways. So give us a little overview of the specific programs that you guys are running right now.
Thank you. So yeah, we execute our mission primarily through three programs. As you mentioned, the first is our Introduction to Wall Street Bootcamp, 15 to 20 hours of just that introduction. We start off with history. I mean, we would be remiss to not point out that the first globalization is probably slavery. And actually, slave labor was involved with the actual building of Wall Street. What Wall Street was. We'd take a look at that physical wall that was there in what was then called New Amsterdam. And from there, it's just the journey throughout history of Wall Street as it's commonly known, looking at global events in history, not starting with, but including Tulip Mania, the East Indies companies, etc. And the idea is to begin that journey of what really is Wall Street, looking at asset classes, looking at the industry, the different verticals, career paths, the introduction to technical jargon, technical concepts, starting to look at the modeling, and as you mentioned, importantly, the soft skills, how you show up. But we begin that journey with behavioral assessments because at the end of the day, I find, and I think it's probably the most important thing, is for these young people, as everyone in general, to get a sense of who we are, where we might really fit versus what we think we want to do, how we fit into teams, how we interact, and importantly, this idea that for many of these young people, if not most, these spaces will be foreign, sometimes even hostile.
Yeah.
And how do you begin to have that conversation where you're finding not strength, but becoming more comfortable with being uncomfortable? And that's just the beginning of that journey. And so the follow-on program for those that realize that they do want to pursue this path, Wall Street is for them, these careers. We go into the deeper dive in our Wall Street Direct program, 150 hours, going deeper on the technical concepts that were introduced in the boot camp, but a good portion of that time also taking a deeper dive on the certifications and the credentials you mentioned. We primarily focus on the SIE, that's the new FINRA exam, Securities Industry Essentials, where that's the new first level of certification by FINRA. You get that on your resume. Not only do you have letters, not only do you have demonstration of some subject mastery, but your trajectory is now different.
Right.
When you're applying for jobs, the Boolean searches. These kids don't even know that before a human sees it, there's a machine is looking for keywords. You walk into any bar on Park Avenue or Aspen or Greenwich, FINRA on your resume is a different conversation now.
Right.
Secondly, we focus on the new Fundamentals of Alternative Investing certification from Kaya, another partner, thank you.
Yep.
And so with this Kaplan's also delivering to us the instructors. So world-class instruction, world-class material. And so the idea is, besides these two credentials, our internal goal, our stated goal to the world is to have 80 to 85% of these students placed in internships. Last but not least is a very unique program, is the Diverse Trader Training Program with Maverick Trading, where we've partnered with a proprietary trading firm to get access to balance sheet, and we're delivering two curriculums. One on foreign exchange currencies. Actually, they just added crypto. The second is stock options. Online training, learning is remote. And after you've gone through the curriculum, we come up with a trading business plan. We spend 2 months paper trading, not looking for profitability, but just simply the discipline to stick to your trading business plan. We have a debrief, and for those that have shown the ability to be disciplined, they wake up within 1 or 2 days, live accounts, $25,000 each.
Wow.
To manage and trade. They keep 70 to 80% of those profits, and over the course of a year, if they're hitting their risk and profit risk targets, those accounts are expected to be funded up to $250,000 each. And so this is quite unique for those students that either want to engage directly with the markets, less interested in, let's say, the traditional path with the student and the business card, and for whatever reason may or may not be able to get through that Goldman Sachs interview based on how they present, how they walk, how they look, but behaviorally, cognitively are able to, because at this day and age, we can get a sense as to what mindset, what kind of person can make it in the markets. Now, there's no crystal ball, but clearly using these same behavioral assessment tools that we use throughout. And so this is where this mission can scale in different directions. We get applications from all over the world for this program.